Good morning, everybody. I trust you're doing well and keeping safe. Thank you for choosing to be part of this webinar and a warm welcome to you all. My name is Aurelia and I'll be moderating this webinar. As you already are aware, the topic for this webinar is Introduction to HPLC Theory and Practical Examples. The presentation will be done by Ashleigh Mellor from SCION Instruments. I would encourage participants to keep their microphones muted during the presentation. And if there are any questions, feel free to drop them in the dialog box, which Ashleigh will give answers to during the question and answers time. I also encourage everyone to fill and submit the survey form that will be shared in the dialog box. At this point, I will hand over to my colleague, Samson Anna, to take us through the company introduction. Samson.
Hi, Aurelia. Thank you very much and good morning. Welcome, everyone. We are glad to have you join us for this presentation. So I will quickly introduce Cleanearth Scientific. I'm sure lots of us have heard of Cleanearth, and most of us have also had interactions with Cleanearth Scientific. So I will share my screen and then just hit briefly on Cleanearth Scientific so we all get a sense of what we do. Okay, so I believe you can all see my screen now. So Cleanearth Scientific, basically, we are a life sciences and engineering company. We've been providing services in product quality assurance applications, water quality monitoring and treatment for industrial customers in West Africa, and we have been doing this for the past 25 years. Of course, our office is at Lashibi Community 18. That's where we have our Ghana and West Africa operations from. And our motivation has always been to deliver breakthrough analytical technologies, and we always find out new ways to help our customers protect the environment and safeguard the quality of water and their products. So to sum it, I would say that our drive has been to supply cutting-edge analytical technology, and as I said, we always find new ways to assist our customers in protecting the environment and ensuring that there's so much quality of water and general goods, so to say. So we carry on this tradition not only by serving our clients, but we also provide products and services that contribute to clean earth or cleaning the earth, so to say. And our objective is basically to improve people's lives, water quality, and the environment. So we work with various strategic key partners, and we just have a summary of some of them. We work with HAC. HAC offers a range of lab equipment, online analyzers for water quality analysis. SCION Instruments, yes, they are leading the presentation today, and I'm sure we'll get to know more about them. But SCION is largely into the high ends, talk of HPLC, gas chromatography, mass spectrometry, etc. And one of our strategic partners is also Rudolph Research Analytical, and Rudolph also pride themselves in all kinds of density meters, refractometers, polarimeters, saccharimeters. They also have automation solutions that actually combines these instruments, that's the refractometers, one or more of either refractometers, polarimeters, saccharimeters, etc. And IDES laboratories are also one of our key partners. They are also an expert in water quality, and of course, they've taken the lead in microbial analysis, and they also offer good range of products within that space. And then I would also mention Medipore. They also specialize in water purification system portfolios and offer a broad range of pure and ultra pure water purification systems and services. So that's just about some of our key strategic partners or OEM partners we work with across the globe. So within Cleanearth, we have two main wings or departments. We have the Water Services Department and we have the Life Sciences Department, Life Sciences Analytical Department. And the Water Service Department primarily focus on the designing and building of water treatment systems for influent and effluent wastewater treatment systems. And then the Life Sciences is also one of our, one of our departments, and the Life Sciences basically pride themselves in strong capabilities in 10 key laboratory projects which we execute complete upon delivery. And so we say that as soon as the keys to the lab are passed to the owner, they can open the doors and start work immediately. All the equipment and utilities are in place and connected, and so operations can begin immediately. And we have examples. We've executed 10 key lab setups for Bui Dam and a host of other clients in Ghana. So water services, engineering design, water wastewater treatment systems, and the life sciences focuses on 10 key laboratory setups. We also offer training in all the equipment we supply, as well as technical or the provision of technical and application support. So we focus on two main markets for water and wastewater. We do the industrial water market, and we also don't leave out the commercial or the municipal water market. So for industrial, our focus is largely in treatment systems. We also do process optimization. And so if you have an existing water treatment system and for some reasons you are not getting the desired results, we come in to do evaluation and then do assessment, and we are able to provide solutions to help in the optimization of your existing treatment system. And we also offer services in recycling and reuse of water quality, as well as monitoring. And for the commercial aspect, we do or offer treatment systems, sewage management, recycling, and reuse operations management. So this is basically a summary of our water services capability. Open plant or containerized systems. We offer water treatment systems various. We also offer water profile and flow capacity analysis, and we're able to customize these solutions based on the customer's budget. So it doesn't matter how much money you have on table or how much your financial strength is, we'll be able to customize a water treatment system for you based on your needs. So these are some of our water treatment solutions: utility water treatment, process water treatment. We also offer feed water treatment, and depending on the raw water quality, we can employ different treatment technologies for a range of technologies. That's from conventional treatment through to microfiltration, ultrafiltration, reverse osmosis, or multimedia filtration. So that's a summary of our water service department. And for the life sciences, I've mentioned 10 key lab delivery, 360 degrees. We are able to build the lab from scratch and also provide all the needed equipment that come in. And then we do equipment installation. We also offer training and provide application support. And we are also into all kinds of analytical instruments, be it lab or online or inline instruments. And then preventative and corrective maintenance is also our hallmark, because we are not so much concerned about just selling the equipment to you. We also care about the life after the equipment has been sold to you. And we always want to ensure that you are getting value for the amount of money you spend in in equipment. So preventative maintenance is something we take very serious with our work. And I said we have been doing this for over 25 years. So we have that strong record and credibility. We have a strong management team that offers the various direction and drafting of strategies that ensures that we are on top of our performance. We have a dedicated team of young Ghanaians with diverse backgrounds from the social science through to engineering and other fields. We have a strong financial position supported by impact investor class who support us financially to make sure that we are able to expand our operations. And there's always continuous innovation in delivering customer analytical needs, because for Cleanearth Scientific, the customer is our cherished client. And so anything we have to do to ensure that our customers are happy, we do that. So this is just a peek, or just to give you an idea, some of our focus markets. We are in the food and beverage industry. We also operate within the pharma cycle. Municipal water, we are there. We also provide solutions within the power industry. You'll find us in mining as well as oil and gas and petroleum. And we also offer solutions to and research, contract research and educational institutions. So these are some of the companies we have within our portfolio: Nestle, Diageo, Coca-Cola, a host of them. Within the mines, we have Goldfields, Anglo Gold, Perseus Mining, Newmont, Power, VRA, Taka is a strong customer, Car Power, P Power, Early Power, Sem Power. Within municipal water, of course, Ghana Water is our biggest client within that space. Abengwa Water is also there. Petroleum, we work with Tema Oil Refinery. We also support and supply to Puma Energy, to Temaliu, Jensen, Verity Laboratory. We are there. Within the pharmaceutical space, to USP Ghana, Iten Drug, NS Chemist, Dax Pharma, you can mention them. And so this is just a summary of our social impact. We pride ourselves in contributing to consumer health and safety, and we do that by ensuring that through the equipment we supply, there's quality in food and water, as well as beverage that is consumed by the public. And also, you may want to talk about the health space, through quality or the provision of quality medicines as a result of our range of analytical instruments. And of course, we also pride ourselves in ensuring clean water and sanitation, because the environment means a lot to us. And so we always make sure that through our equipment offering, there's always quality in water and the environment at large. And one of our social impact areas is also within STEM and overall contribution to the economic development of Ghana. And we do this through job creation in science and technology. So when you come to our workspace, we have a balanced staff. We have strong representation of females who spearhead various wings of our operation. So quality control and assurance using analytical techniques impact life and the environment. That's our strong belief. And we see this in health, education, social, and the general economic development of Ghana and even West Africa. So to sum it, I would say that at Cleanearth Scientific, delivering equipment and related services to our clients assures them of quality outcomes in water, environment, and general production. That's our success story for about 25 years. You can always visit us across all social media platforms. Details of our website on the screen is cleanearthsci.com. We have lots of information. You can always reach us through our emails and any of the phone numbers. You can also reach us. Our office, as I mentioned earlier, is at Lashibi community 18. Thank you very much. And Aurelia, you take over.
Thank you very much, Samson, for the company introduction. That was really precise and brief and detailed as well. Thank you once again. At this point, we'll go over to our representative from SCION Instruments to take us through the presentation. Ashleigh.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me as part of this presentation. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Perfect, thank you. So I'm going to give you a brief introduction into who I am, who SCION Instruments are, and then I will also obviously give more detailed information on our HPLC product. So my name's Ashleigh, I'm based in our Scotland office. I've worked for the company now for 4 years. I started as the applications chemist for method development and method validation on our systems, and then I moved into the HPLC product manager's role approximately 2 years ago. So my background is as a forensic chemist. I worked for the local police, analysing drugs and alcohol in police criminal cases. So although I am specialised in HPLC, my background is GC, GCMS, LC, LCMS as well. So if we look into the history of SCION, so SCION Instruments has actually only existed on paper for the past 8 years. However, our legacy goes right back to 1948. So we were originally founded in the USA and we were known as Varian. They started off with $22,000 and they made the first GC. That was then acquired by Chromepack in 1998, and that was where the manufacturing moved to the Netherlands. This then became a Varian Incorporated spin-off company where the focus was really on expanding that gas chromatography business, and then we changed our name back to Varian. In 2009, we were then acquired by Agilent, but what they done was they sold the GC and GCMS product lines to the Bruker part of the business. So we became Bruker up until 2014, where TechComp Limited bought the GC, GCMS and chromatography data system from from Bruker. So that's why SCION actually existed from 2014, but we do have a lot of staff that came from Varian right back from 1999. So we carry that legacy and we do all of the R&D development for the GC and GCMS. So as I said, we are owned by a company called TechComp, and TechComp have 6 various life sciences and scientific instrumentation under the 6 different companies. And what we aim to do is be able to supply the laboratory with a lot of the equipment you need, so you don't have to go to different vendors. We can supply cross-functional products. So we do balances, spectrometers, freezers, pH meters, gas sensors, and then of course SCION specialises in the chromatography part of the laboratory. So our headquarters are in the Netherlands, and at this site is where we do all of the production and assembly for the GC and the HPLC products. We also have a large applications lab where we do a lot of customer testing for their samples. And then of course we do the final test just to make sure that we are reaching those high quality assurance that we expect our product to deliver to the customer. In Scotland, where I am, this is our research and development centre. So all of the next phase products that we bring to market are actually developed and manufactured, developed in the Netherlands before we transfer manufacturing over to the Netherlands. We also have an applications lab here, but that applications lab is all based upon the research and development and how the science is actually going to benefit the product, which we obviously deliver to the end customer. We do have a global sales presence, and we do this with working with other companies like Cleanearth Scientific. We have a great partnership, so we can deliver the total solution to your laboratory. So we are in every country across the world, and even though we've only existed since 2014, we are rapidly growing, and we're continuously investing in our products. So I'll just do a quick run through of the products. Obviously, if there's any information needed on any of them, you can go through Cleanearth Scientific and we can set up another meeting to discuss the other options available. So we currently have 2 gas chromatographs on the market. The 8300 is the small one and the 8500 is the larger one. So these were launched back in November of last year. And as you can see, the main focal point for these 2 GCs is the integrated tablet that is on the front of the instrument. So we can do full control from the front of the instrument, which means we don't have to be always reliant on the computer. If the computer's not next to the GC, we can still control it. So they both have excellent fastest ramping ovens on the market. We can do up to 170 degrees per minute. They are both fully flexible. So the smaller one is excellent if you've got a small laboratory but need maximum output. So it can have 2 injectors and 1 detector plus a mass spec. Whereas if you need more sample capability, you could have the 8500, which can have 3 injectors, 3 detectors plus a mass spec connected to it. In terms of autosamplers, we also offer 2 different options which can be connected to either of the GC. We have our standard 8400 Pro, which is your 2 ml vial, 100 vial capacity. It also can operate in SPME mode. Or we have the 8410 sampler, which offers 3 different vial sizes. So we can have 2 ml, 5 ml or 10 ml vials, dependent obviously upon the sample that you are using. In terms of capability, both of them have all the same specifications. We can do a dual injector injection, so we can inject into the front and middle injector or the middle and the rear in the same sequence or the same acquisition. We also have a built-in 3 solvent washer standard to ensure that we are not introducing any contamination into the system. And if your samples are prone to degradation due to excessive heating and it needs to be temperature controlled, we can offer a heating or cooling option as well to keep that sample integrity. Of course, the GCs can also be operated with manual injection if it is a low throughput laboratory, so you don't always need the autosampler. In terms of mass spec, we have 2 available mass spectrometers. We have a single quad, which is the 8700, and we also have a triple quad, which has just been released to the market. So it is a highly sensitive mass spec detector, and that is due to its patented design that SCION Instruments have. So in the ion source, it is actually lens-free, which means that we can have reduced downtime and maintenance because there's obviously less parts of the source to clean. With the axial ion source design, it is designed for maximum sensitivity and resolution. And what it does is the positioning of the ion source means that we do not have a lot of neutrals actually entering the detector flow path. And that is further enhanced by the active focusing of our Q0. So we can apply a pre-filter to this to make sure that only the ionized and fragmented compounds that we're looking for reach the detector, which improves the overall sensitivity. We do have a specialist function called the extended dynamic range, and this gives us a 5 times more linear range. So it means that the mass spec is perfect for trace analysis, and then also that larger, heavier compounds that will be in the higher concentration. So it eliminates the need for extensive sample prep or having to run different samples over different methods. We can build in that extended dynamic range into the one method to make sure we can analyze all compounds at all ranges. Again, this is the triple quad. It's got the same design as the single quad, but of course it's got that extra quad so we can do MRM data collection, and this gives us even better sensitivity and more selectivity than the 8700. So these two mass spectrometers are for GC. In terms of other parts of the business, we do have specialist analyzer solutions which have been created and developed in-house, especially for the oil and gas industry. These are designed and configured to all of the major ESTM methods, which we can offer as standard. In terms of chromatography data system, we do operate all products off Compass CDS. So this controls the GC and the HPLC, which really streamlines the need for additional software within the laboratory. So it is designed for full, complete control of the instruments, as well as setting up your methods. We do full calibration, calculation, and reporting. And it is designed to have 24/7 operation. The way we set it up is we can put a sequence on and leave it. We don't need to keep monitoring it because it is so stable. It is compliant to 21 CFR 11. On top of our chromatography systems, we offer a whole range of spares and consumables, not only for our products, but also for other chromatography systems that are on the market. We do offer full IQ, OQ, and PQ for all of our systems as well, to ensure that you are getting those validated results upon installation at your location. So that was just a brief overview of our products. Obviously, I didn't include the HPLC into that because we're going to go into more detail now. So this is our LC6000. And at the moment, we offer a choice of 4 detectors. I will go through each individual module in the next few slides. But obviously at the top, we have our organizer or the solvent cabinet, a pump, an auto sampler, which can be a standard or it can have a cooling unit installed. We have a Peltier-based column oven and then a choice of up to 4 detectors. In terms of autosampler, we do offer manual injection as well, so an autosampler is not a requirement if it is a low throughput laboratory. So if we look at the organizer, so it is an extra large solvent cabinet to house all of the mobile phase. So what we need to do is there's no need to have continuously changing of mobile phases. It can hold 6 1-litre bottles and 3 500 ml bottles. And the tubing that is supplied with the instrument is all clearly labelled, so we can control the flow path and know exactly what solvent is being injected into what line on the instrument. The most important part of the organizer is that it actually contains the communications board, so it is a mandatory part, as without it we wouldn't be able to control the instrument. Most important module for any HPLC system is the pump. Obviously, the pump is what provides the system with the high pressure that is needed to move the mobile phase and sample through the HPLC. So we offer the standard pump as a basic isocratic system. We can then upgrade this to include a 6-channel degasser and also a low pressure gradient unit. Regardless if you are running an isocratic or gradient mode, we always recommend having that degasser installed, and that's because it will use a vacuum chamber to remove any dissolved air from the mobile phase. If dissolved air gets into the system, it will cause a lot of issues with reproducibility, the chromatography will be affected, and it can also damage your pump. And obviously this is what we want to avoid. We want to ensure maximum productivity from our system. So by installing the low pressure gradient unit, that gives us the flexibility to run a gradient profile if our method requires it. Without it, we will just be on the standard isocratic mobile phase and we won't be able to change the composition. It does come with the manual purge valve, so for easy maintenance when we are switching over mobile phases, we simply have to open the purge valve and set the flow to a little bit of a higher rate. And once the purging is done, we can then start running the next method. We can deliver up to 4 mobile phases, and we also have on the degasser, there's 2 lines for your auto sampler wash. So we can have an inbuilt auto sampler wash to ensure that we are keeping contamination out of the system. This is what the inside of our pump looks like. So as you can see on the left-hand side, we have the 6-channel degasser, and each of the individual lines, as I've said, are clearly labeled and they're also color-coded, so we can have complete traceability of what lines are going where in the pump. This pump has the low pressure gradient unit installed, and as you can see, we have a 4-way valve going into the pump head, and this is what's allowing us to have that gradient composition, and we can change the amount of organic in the mobile phase throughout the run without having to do any pre-preparation. So in terms of specifications for the quaternary pump, it is a 600 bar pump, which provides great flexibility in terms of the flow rates and the type of column we can use on the system. We have a thing called HFM mode, which is high frequency mode. And what it does, it will use a double switching of the proportioning valves, which is critical when we are using a gradient program. So this ensures that time after time, run after run, the gradient that we require is actually being delivered to the system and it's not being lost in the flow path. It also reduces the delay volume in having the gradient applied to the system. And we see that with this, we not only have excellent reproducibility, but we also reduce the baseline rippling effect, which is often seen when changing a mobile phase composition during the run. It does have an inbuilt high-speed pulse suppression, so it is continuously monitoring and adjusting that pulse, so we make sure it is suppressed, and this is what gives us the excellent flow rate precision, especially at the lower end of the flow rate, so less than 0.5 ml. So the degasser that we have built in is a low volume degasser, which just means we need to use less volume of solvent to completely remove the air from the system. So obviously it means we can use less solvent, which is cheaper for the customer, but also it reduces the amount of purge time that we need when replacing the different solvents in the HPLC. So if we are running a system that uses a buffered mobile phase, so anything that requires pH control, we do recommend having the plunger wash installed, as it prevents any precipitation from building up in the system, which can then cause problems in the chromatography. So when we look at the data from the pump, as you can see by the retention time stability, we have extremely low variance. So we're down at in average, it's 0.08% variation in the retention time. And this is without the use of a column oven. So in HPLC, column ovens generally are used to make sure the retention time is stable. But if we remove that from the system, then we can see that we still have excellent, not only retention time stability, but area RSDs as well. The picture on the right with the LFM and the HFM is showing you how the pump works when mixing a solvent. So in standard quaternary pumps, they will take one portion of each solvent separately and then mix them later down the flow path. what our system does is each time the pump moves, it will take the required portion of each solvent and pre-mix it before delivering it to the flow path of the HPLC. So this is really ensuring that we have a consistent composition being delivered right the way through the HPLC system, and there's no variance, which will obviously affect your chromatography and especially in batch-to-batch reproducibility. In terms of the autosampler, as I've said, we have two variances, that is the 6210 or the 6220. The only difference between the two is having that thermostat option. So as I said for GC, if you need sample integrity because your samples are susceptible to degradation, then we apply the thermostat option. And this is, it can cool right down to 4 degrees centigrade, and it can maintain the temperature to 5 degrees below ambient temperature too. So both systems have a high precision syringe drive, and that makes sure that the amount of sample that we're injecting is stable time and time again. So we know that by the end of a run, we don't need to be careful that the injection precision has gone down. It does have leak sensors on all of our modules, but especially on the autosampler, this is critical because we do have more connectors. Obviously with the injection valve, we need to make sure that this is controlled. It is a high sample capacity autosampler, so we can have either 202 ml vials, 128 4 ml vials, or we can even install micro well plates. So we can have 96 well or 384 micro well plates installed. So this is what the HPLC looks like. This was taken from my demo instrument. So as you can see, it's not neat and tidy, but it is a very well used instrument. In this picture, we do have the standard 200 vial autosampler tray, and this is the injection precision. So even at a 0.5 microliter injection, the RSD was only 1.25% variance. A typical injection in HPLC is 20 microliters, and at a 20 microliter injection, the precision is less than 0.3%. As I've said, not every laboratory needs an autosampler, especially if it's low throughput, so we do offer a manual injector as well, which gives a continuous flow between load and inject, which eliminates the natural variance which we see when we are doing a manual injection. Column oven, so at the moment we just do one column oven, but we do have a new release coming out very shortly. So this can have up to 3 25 centimeter columns, and we do have a specific design on this column oven where we actually can heat the peak tubing as well. It's not just the column. We apply the peak tubing to the temperature to the peak tubing, and this really allows us to control the viscosity of the mobile phase, which will reduce the overall pressure of the system. We can use the column oven to improve the separation and the chromatography by slightly increasing the temperature. We also have space just in this section here for a column switching valve. So in the many petrochemical methods, we need to have a switching valve which allows us to backflush to separate different components. Does someone have a question? Okay, so the first of our detectors that I'm going to talk about today is the diode array detector, the 6430. This is our most flexible and the most popular detector that we have in our portfolio. And the reason for that is its ability to not only quantify, but identify and quantify samples, but we can also look at the purity of a sample. It gives us the opportunity to determine if there's any impurities that are affecting the chromatography.
I don't know what that is.
So it is a wide wavelength detector. It operates from 190 nanometers right up to 900. So it is a very versatile detector, especially for unknown compounds when we don't know what the absorbance wavelength will be. So unlike a UV detector, we can monitor 4 different wavelengths at the same time, as well as having a whole scan range. And this allows us to pick out very specific absorbances for our target compounds. What I like most about our diode array and the software is that if we're not sure what our max absorbance for the target compounds will be, we can use Compass and it will actually extract that information for us, and it will show us exactly what the optimum wavelength is. This can obviously be done post-processing on other chromatograms, or we can use this information to build different methods. So with the diode array, it does have a 3D chromatogram. And what that does, it contains spectral data, which is an additional level for quantifying, for confirmation of results. And this means we're not just reliant upon the retention time. It gives an extra confirmation that we know exactly what we are looking for is there. So with this spectral data, we can actually build in a spectral library within Compass, and this will allow us to search for both known and unknown compounds against a stored reference. So this is what the spectral data actually looks like. So as you can see, the red dotted line was a standard of vitamin C that I ran in the laboratory. I then ran a sample and the software automatically compares the two and gives me this image. And as you can see, the dark black line behind the standard is showing that we have the same spectral match. So by doing this, I know that it is exactly vitamin C, and the software also gives us that match of 99.9% accuracy. Within the software, if we're using the spectral match function, each user can set their own specifications for what is deemed a match or not. And obviously for validated methods, this is critical. So what I was talking about in terms of we can monitor the different wavelengths. So in this analysis, we were looking at food colorings in the food industry, and we used a range of 200 to 650 nanometers. We then used, in the same method, the 4 target wavelengths of 254, 480, 530, and 620. And as you can see, over 530 and also 254, we can actually see that all the target compounds are present. And if we took that at face value and we done quantitation on it, then it would be wrong. When we actually look at the individual wavelengths for the target compounds, especially the BB, which is brilliant blue, and when we look at this coloring, we can see that the absorbance is maximized at 620. So if we'd have quantified it at 530 or 254, we would have obviously got a lot lower result. So by able to have the additional wavelengths within the method, we're going to make sure that any quantification is done at the right wavelength, giving the most accurate results. So this is how Compass looks. Now, if you look at the chromatogram in the top left, you can see that the separation is not good, but that's okay. We don't need it to be perfect, because what we're going to do in this case is we are going to use this window here to look at what the spectral absorbances are. The spectral absorbance will then be able to use for qualitative analysis to make sure that the peaks are being identified. This will then allow us to perform method optimization to get these critical pairs separated. So just a summary of the diode array. It is an excellent resolution detector, and that is due to the optical design of the diodes. It is a 1024 diode system. We can also upgrade this system to have a thermostat controlled flow cell. And what this does, it gives even better signal. And what we really use this for is in the pharma industry, when we are really looking at trace analysis of contaminants. As I said, it is a wide range from 190 to 900, and we do have the ability to use extracted target wavelengths within the same method. So the most basic detector that we do is your standard UV. It is not a UV vis detector, it is a standard UV. And what we do is it is a dual wavelength, and it gives excellent sensitivity because we don't just use one wavelength and split it. We actually have a reference wavelength and a sample wavelength. And it allows us to monitor the changes between the two, giving better identification and quantification of the target compounds. So we recommend using the UV detector if the target compounds all have similar absorbance wavelengths and for known samples. If you're running any unknown compounds and you don't have reference standards, then we won't be able to do any identification, unlike the diode array detector, where we can use that reference library. For the fluorescence, this uses a xenon lamp, and what it does is it gives ultimate sensitivity. So we are able to run aflatoxins without the need for derivatization. Obviously, it depends upon the target detection limits, but we can run it without the need for derivatization. It also comes with the mercury lamp for checking the wavelength to make sure that we are staying at that maximum quality and giving the best results. So the excitation wavelength runs from 200 to 850, and the emission wavelength is 250 to 900. So again, it is a wide range wavelength detector. We can do wavelength switching over a time period. So if we have different samples with different emission and excitation wavelengths, then we can utilize the switching programs to analyze all compounds in a single injection. As with our mass spec detector for GC, this also comes with extended dynamic range mode, which means our linear calibration has a 5-fold increase. Due to the excellent selectivity and sensitivity over the UV and the diode array detector, it is the best detector for trace analysis. The final detector in our portfolio is the refractive index detector. So it is a dual chamber flow cell, so it's continuously monitoring any changes within the mobile phase to give us the chromatogram and the peaks in our sample. It has a standard short preheat time. So with any RI detector, the most challenging part is actually getting it to equilibrate. With our RI, we can have it heated up and ready to equilibrate within 60 minutes. And as it operates under a temperature of between 30 and 50 degrees constantly, that preheat is vital to having a successful application using the RI. As I've said, all of our instruments within SCION for the GC and the LC are controlled via Compass CDS. So it does offer full control of all of the LC modules, where we can have the integration, calibration and reporting tools, as well as the most important is having that 3D data for the diode array. So unlike other vendors, Compass CDS comes with all of the fully functioning requirements you need to operate your diode array. We do not ask you to buy flow cells or additional licenses to access that 3D data. It is provided as standard. Again, we do have a wide range of columns to suit all application needs. We have branded vials, and we do offer validation for methods and also IQ/OQ as well. This is just a brief overview of how do we know when to choose either UV or diode array. Obviously, between the two, there's quite a big price difference, but it all depends on the functionality that you require. So as I've said, UV is low budget, but it's for very simple compounds that have a wavelength of less than 600. For the diode array, we can do more complex compounds, especially if they contain functional groups, and we can monitor the varying wavelengths from a single injection. Using that 3D data, we can have an extra confidence in peak confirmation, but also calculate peak purity and use the spectral library for comparisons. Here's just an overview of the different compounds that we would use and how to select the detector based upon those compounds. So for UV and diode array, anything that contains a chromophore, which will allow it to absorb the light, can be used. So anything naturally occurring is perfect for UV or diode array. Fluorescence is especially for the polyaromatic hydrocarbon market, aflatoxins in foods and vitamins, where they have very specific excitation and emission wavelengths. RI is predominantly carbohydrates, sugars and alcohols. As you can see, I've added ELSD onto this as well, and that is because in a couple of weeks we will be introducing an ELSD detector into our portfolio, but we can set up an additional meeting to go through that and applications at another date. So overall value proposition for our LC6000, it provides confidence in data. So we do have excellent injection volume precision with a superior gradient and flow control to ensure the best retention time reproducibility. Obviously, when using a non-mass spec detector, the most important part is having confirmed retention times, ensuring that the analysis is going to be accurate and any data reporting has 100% confidence. It is a better return on investment because it is a very robust platform with minimal maintenance, which makes it an overall cost-effective system, and it is fully flexible. So what we do with the LC is we offer it on a module basis. You can tell us exactly what your application needs are, and we can fully tailor that system to you. If you buy a basic system, because it is modular, we are able to fully upgrade the LC system module at a time on site. So that was just a brief overview of our HPLC. I'll now show you some combination drugs data that we've done on our HPLC. This is just one of many application notes we have available on our website. So this was a critical application that was done for a pharmaceutical company, and it was looking at APIs, which are the active pharmaceutical ingredients in medication, and that is what is used to obviously treat the particular illness. In many pharmaceuticals, they will be used in combination with each other because when we have two or more APIs, it gives a stronger effect. So this application of being able to detect more than one API is an increased demand for pharmaceutical and toxicology laboratories. Obviously for pharmaceuticals, we need to know that the level of active ingredients are not going to be critical to the end user. And alternatively, in a toxicology laboratory, we need to know if the combination of the APIs have had an effect on the individual, which has caused severe illness, or in most cases, in a toxicology laboratory, they can cause death. So what we've done here is we looked at a combination over-the-counter medication, which was containing ibuprofen and paracetamol, common painkillers. We've done it on our LC, and as I said, it does have full compass control. So when we look at our experiment, the the analytical standards were prepared at 5 concentrations to give a wide linear range, and it was just in standard methanol. We did buy the tablets from over the counter and we ground them down to a fine powder. We diluted them in 200 ml of the mobile phase before we centrifuged them and filtered them ready for injection. So in terms of mobile phase, it is a buffered solution in mobile phase A, and mobile phase is just simply methanol. So it was a gradient program. As you can see, from 0 to 6 minutes, we had the methanol at a concentration of 70%, and this was further increased after 6 minutes to 15, right up to 90%. Diode array, we had a standard range of 220 to 400, but we then also used the target wavelengths of 237 for the detection of ibuprofen and 254 for the detection of paracetamol. We used a 20 microliter injection for all standards in the sample. So the analysis of combination drugs, these are the linearity results. We have ibuprofen on the left-hand side, which is 237 nanometers, and also paracetamol on the right, which is 254. So both of the target compounds give excellent linearity of 0.9994, and that is over the calibration range of 10 to 400 milligrams per litre. So as you can see, we used the extracted wavelength because we know that at this wavelength, this is when the 2 different compounds absorb the most light. So this will give us the highest peak area. But again, this was done in the 1 single injection. So the chromatograms here show the whole scan wavelength. The 2 chromatograms show both results. So the top wavelength is at 237 nanometers and the bottom is at 254 nanometers. So as you can see, both chromatograms do show both peaks, but again, the concentration for the ibuprofen in particular is much lower in the 254 wavelength range. So because we'd done a calibration curve, what we'd done, we could then quantitate the 2 target compounds in the sample. The concentration for ibuprofen was at 34.11 mg per litre and paracetamol was at 39.24 mg per litre. Even though we had used reference standards, we also performed a spectral comparison just to make sure that we were certain the over-the-counter medication was contained in the active ingredients that it was listed on the packaging. As you can see, in fact, we can't really see the red line of the reference standard, and that is because it is behind the spectra, because the spectral matches were perfect. In terms of repeatability data, we did do 6 consecutive injections of a 10 milligram per litre analytical standard containing both. The retention time stability was 0.06% and it was 0.04% for the paracetamol. The concentration, the peak area variability was 0.2% for ibuprofen and 0.18% for paracetamol. So just to give a brief overview, we developed a fast and accurate method for the simultaneous determination of APIs using the HPLC diode array with wavelength monitoring. This is a critical application to pharmaceutical and toxicology labs, and we had extra confirmation through spectral library searches. We demonstrated excellent linearity and repeatability for both compounds, and full control was done via Compass CDS. That is my presentation.